Welcome to Mye Journey, a series of podcasts focused on multiple myeloma expert and her patient's journey from diagnosis to what the future may hold. This episode of Mye Journey is presented by Duke Cancer Institute and is funded by donations to the Multiple Myeloma Research Fund. Neither Dr. Gasparetto nor Thomas Goode have been compensated for their participation in this program.
I currently serve as a consultant and speaker to a number of pharmaceutical companies and treatment organizations. And for the most up-to-date list of my disclosures, please go to my page at dukehealth.org.
My name is Thomas Goode, and disclosures include working with GlaxoSmithKline.
This video podcast is the second in the series featuring Dr. Cristina Gasparetto and Thomas in a candid conversation about their physician-patient journey. This journey includes building a strong, open relationship to support struggles, successes, and a path to the future. In our previous episode, we heard stories from Dr. Gasparetto and Thomas' first interactions. In this episode, we will learn how they have built this strong relationship to be sustaining in the future. When I met both of you, I was immediately impressed about the way you have such an open line of communication. It seems like you almost know what the other is going to say or can finish each other's sentences. It's fantastic. It'll be great to hear how you work to build that rapport and trust. And Dr. Gasparetto, I'm going to hand this discussion over to you and Thomas to lead through it.
Every time I go in a new patient room, I don't know how the conversation is going to go, and I always start asking questions to them, where they're from, what they do, about their family, because I try to understand who they are, kind of. And also from their background, I learn how to communicate with them. It's very difficult. It's very different, the communications. Every patient is different, and so their background is very important. There are some patients who want to know numbers, the disease, the minutes of the disease. Other patients that they want me to guide them through the journey, and they almost want to know everything about their disease. So it's very, very important that the first conversation, I'm learning about them, and hopefully they're learning about me. A lot of time you guys come in the room and you say, oh, I'll Google you, and I learn, and so I can't Google you, so I have to establish a relationship in the room, and the first encounter is probably one of the most important, right?
Right. And I was that patient that wanted guidance from
Yeah.
you. When I first came over there, 34,
Yeah.
35, I was 35 when I first met you. I didn't know what to expect. So I didn't know what questions to ask. So I was, my hands belonged to you. I was waiting for you for guidance for everything. And as our time progressed, that's when, we became more, our relationship became more stronger and stronger because I trusted the opportunities that you had given to me and the treatment plan that you gave me and the fact that I wanted to overcome those odds,
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
statistical odds of 3 to
Absolutely.
5 years
Yeah.
of survival. Newly diagnosed patients only last those 3 to 5 years. So I wanted to be overcome that. So I put my trust in you to help me get where I needed to be.
And the survival of myeloma has improved tremendously over the last 2 decades with the introductions of many new drugs, the immunotherapy, of course, over the last few years. But back then, really, we didn't have much.
No.
We didn't have much. 16 years ago, it was just the beginning of the new targeted therapies. We didn't have much. We had to play with the chemotherapy. But you're right. Every relationship is a little bit different. and you came to the room and you wanted my guidance in a way. Other patients sometimes are questioning that. They want to, more kind of different structure. But no matter what, we are all different.
We're all
and
different, yeah.
So there are different type of relationship and different type of communicating thing. But I think the most important is to establish that relationship with your physician. I think is key. And one thing I learned with you, with the experience that I had with you, is to listen.
Mm-hmm.
How many times you text me and you say, I need a new imaging study, because you listen to your
Yeah,
body,
yeah.
and I have to respect that.
There's numerous times that I
Yeah.
sent you messages
Yeah.
saying, hey, I feel something different.
Exactly.
And could you order me a PET scan? And then when the results come back, it's whatever I
It was
felt.
right.
It was right
It was
pinpointed to where it was at.
Exactly.
So,
And so, sometimes it's easy for us, for the physician, to think that we know more and say, no, you don't need another imaging study. I just done one a few months ago. But it's not true.
It's not true.
You have, and I learned with you that I need to listen. You know your body the best, and you can tell me, if there is something different.
right.
And I think it's important for all patients that you just need to tell us, because we can bombard the patients continuously with blood work and bone marrow and imaging studies. So at a certain point, we need to kind of adjust all these tests based on the situation on the patient. But I always tell patients, listen to yourself, tell me if anything is different.
Yeah.
Common things are common. If you have pain and the pain goes away, it's fine. But if the pain persists, you need to let me know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was very important.
Yeah. And another thing about our journey and how you treated me was the fact that I was in great physical shape. And that was part of your treatment plan. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, I know that being that you're in such great shape, you can handle the toxicity
Yeah.
of the medications
Yeah.
that we're giving you. And, I was happy that, you looked at me like that and you felt like that was part of my treatment plan.
Yeah.
So that gave me, more insight, to trust you.
Correct. I think that one thing I learned through my career and treating patients with myeloma, that at a certain point you need to tailor treatment around your patients. Young, a little bit older, good performance status. All the other, you don't have a lot of other comorbidities, but a lot of patients are coming with a lot of other medical issues. And you can, do what I did to you. And I always tell you, when you go to talk in public, because you do a lot, you're a patient advocate, you're presenting, and that became one of the most important role that you have, advocating for other patients. But I always tell you, don't tell what I did to you, because I'm not going to be able to deliver the same type of treatment to all of them. And that was, I always send you patients, you talk. We established the support group only for myeloma a few years ago, and you're becoming, the leader of that support group. Lots of interactions, a lot of patients interactions. What's going on behind the scene? Tell me.
The support group has
Yeah.
come a long way.
Yeah.
Granted, we're still virtual right now, but is there for the support that's needed.
Right.
I hear from a lot of patients how proud they are of the group. We still have patients that feel like they don't need support. It happens,
Yeah.
but the ones that do come there for support, they are very impressed and pleased about the communications that they have. And I let everyone knows that everyone's treatment is different.
Yeah.
My myeloma journey is different from
different.
yours. So that's why when I go to these talks, I can say, hey, Dr. Gasparetto treated me like this, but my myeloma is different from yours. So she probably won't treat you the exact same way.
Exactly. But you're becoming, in a way, you became a role model for a lot of these patients, because they look at you and they say, oh, I can do that. And look at him. So I think it's very important, right?
Right.
And so our relationship, I think, grew through the years because of that. We both trusted each other, and actually, I have to say, I love all my patients. Of course, we have different type of relationship, but with a lot of them, after a while, is becoming more and more difficult to deliver the bad news because myeloma, despite the fact that we can keep alive patients for many years, is still an incurable disease, and every so often we have to go back to the treatment, right? And we have, in a way, to start over. And the fact that we have new treatments allowed us to have more options. But when we deliver the bad news, so a lot of time you actually help me to tell you, if there was something wrong. You kind of knew that.
I knew it.
We had conversation via phone in addition to the clinic, right? And
Yeah, I knew it. It was one of those
Yeah,
situations
yeah.
when I texted you and asked you for another imaging.
Yeah.
And when the results came back, you couldn't give me the
I
results.
couldn't. I
You know,
couldn't.
you
I
had
couldn't.
to get another one of your PAs to
Yeah,
give me the
yeah.
results.
I just
because
couldn't.
you
I couldn't
do it.
face it. And that's, we always talk about the physicians to be detach ourselves from our patients, but it's impossible.
Yeah.
It's impossible. Many of my patients and the relationship with the caregivers and the patients, and you become so attached because we now know for each other for so many years, right? And it's not a physician that you meet in emergency room and then you don't see
Don't see him anymore, yeah.
Is a physician that you continue to see through your life, your journey. And I always have a lot of patients asking me, "Are you leaving? Please don't. we will follow you." And which is, it's. I always reassure you guys. No, I'm here. As long as I can ride my bike, I'm here. But that is the relationship that we established over the last 16 years of trust and listening.
Trust and listening.
And listening, so you want a physician who listen to you, right, is one of the most important things.
Very important.
Yeah.
That is really an incredible journey to building this relationship. So I have one more question to ask you
Yeah.
relative to the build of the relationship, because we're going to talk a lot about support groups, advocacy groups, and how your relations supported those
Yeah.
bad times and good times. But how do you encourage your peers, other physicians, to have this type of relationship, and how do you encourage other patients to be willing to build this type of relationships? Because I imagine it really takes some opening up and being open to non-traditional patient physician relationships.
When you decide to be an oncologist, you know that you are a different type of physician, right? Because you're not dealing with, easy fixing disease. I mean, sometimes it's devastating news. Sometimes things don't go in the right direction. So it's a different type of. And I don't know, I tell you the truth, I really don't know why I'm an oncologist. And a lot of time I question myself, it would have been easy to be someone different. But I know from my colleagues and, the myeloma, the multiple myeloma world, we all know each other around the country, around the world. And I know for a fact that a lot of my peers, a lot of my colleagues, they have the same type of relationship with their patients because it's a different type of job. Is a different type. There is no question, and you learn how to appreciate life in a different way, right? because you live through the life of your patients, what they're going through, and their success stories and other stories that unfortunately they're not so successful, and so you learn how to appreciate life in a different way, and so you learn a lot from your patients and you learn from their disease. And in myeloma, when I started, was a death sentence, and it's not anymore. It's a chronic disease, and we keep patients alive for many years. But you have to do things correctly. You can use all your matches at the very beginning. You have to use things correctly. And so that's the reason why it's important to establish a relationship with an expert, or someone, as I mentioned earlier, dedicated their career on understanding the disease.
Yeah.
Right?
And from a patient's perspective, I think goes back to listening. If once the patient, gets in front of the physician and you build a rapport from your communications, your conversations with one another, and you just start listening to them, then that helps you build that relationship at the beginning. And then as time progresses, then you'll be able to be a better, have a better relationship with the doctor. Because at the beginning, everybody's lost it. Nobody's thinking about what's going on. Like you said, myeloma was a death sentence, but now, you have great 10 plus years of living newly diagnosed. But within those 10 plus years, you can still have a great relationship with your physician because of that.
Yeah, they're like long relationship, right? I think you guys see me, actually saw me, becoming a different person, growing in front of your eyes, and you too. I mean, so, when we met each other, and so you grow with your physician,
Yeah.
And your physician, sometimes we are human. We're not always right? And so it's very important. That's the reason why I always stress that it's very important to be your own advocate, right? And understanding a little bit more about the disease, but also relying on our patients, or some of these resources that you guys that you have to understand. We have big companies devoting their time, their effort to support research for this disease, and carry communications with patients so they understand their disease and the treatment options. So that's very important. And I think that you can speak up a little bit more about that, because you're part of some of these initiatives.
Being in the forefront of that has helped me become the patient that I am, and to be able to encourage others to have a great relationship with their doctor, because they can see through me and see through some of the material that we've done together, how our relationship has grown from start to be continued.
To the future. Relationship building takes work. The discussion you just shared illustrates a commitment to put in the work to build and to sustain this patient-physician bond. Thank you for your candor and sharing your perspectives. And in the next episode of the Mye Journey series, the discussion will focus on just how this relationship has supported you in times of challenge, in times of success, and how it will continue to support you ongoing. So thank you.